Everyone, how y'all doing? Hope you're doing okay. And now, welcome back to yet again another one of my videos. I've been gone for a while. Honestly, I don't know why. I took a little break and I'm back, refreshed, and I'm prepared to do a shitload more videos. And I thought I'd start with defending a game that is considered the underdog lately compared to its competition. And that is a game called BattleBorn. To many of you, a lot of people say this game is not that great. And many people say this game is basically just a wannabe version of Overwatch. I've heard a lot of people call it BattleBorn and that's a failure. Listen, right? BattleBorn is not a complete failure. For me, a complete failure to me, yes. It hasn't sold nearly as well as the developers hoped it would, the publishers. It's not nearly as popular as Overwatch. Now, mind you, I'm not criticizing Overwatch. I think Overwatch is a fantastic game. I spent hours on the beta and I haven't pre-ordered. I should have it soon. But that doesn't mean I want to stop playing BattleBorn when it comes. I played a good bit of BattleBorn, and I would say I think BattleBorn is a fantastic game. A complete failure to me is a game that doesn't sell well and is also a terrible game. But that is not the case with BattleBorn. And here's the thing. I'm not saying BattleBorn's a better game than Overwatch or vice versa, but I gotta compare this, right? If you compare Overwatch and BattleBorn next to each other, because since so many people love to do that when they're trying to break BattleBorn down, trying to criticize it, let's think about content-wise, right? BattleBorn gives you 25 characters, 26, they're adding more. Overwatch has around 21. Basically, it's the same amount of characters nearly, just BattleBorn has a couple extra, but that's not the big deal. Then you move on to single player. And here's the thing, they both have options to play offline bots, great. But BattleBorn gives you a single player campaign. No, it's not the greatest single player campaign ever. It's not the longest. It's like I said, give you a good 6 to 8 hours. But the campaign missions are highly replayable, and they do have story content in the campaign, and you get to hear a lot of funny dialogue with the characters. And a side note, something that I really like about BattleBorn's campaign is that the developers went through the effort to spend the time to add these details where if you play through a campaign mission, repeat the same mission 4 or 5 times, each one of those times you will hear different dialogue spoken between the characters. Just to liven things up a bit. And eventually, after a couple of playthroughs, you will eventually hear the same stuff. But the fact that you have 3 to 5 different dialogues through the entire mission is a really cool feature. And it's really cool that the developers of BattleBorn decided to add that in. But back to the whole thing. So BattleBorn has this single player campaign that Overwatch does not. And also Overwatch unlockables. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad game, but Overwatch unlockables are cosmetics, all this stuff. Same as BattleBorn. The one thing about BattleBorn that I kind of like that Overwatch doesn't have, and that is its lore. Basically, in BattleBorn, you have all your weapons, your power ups, and all that. You have the skill tree where, I forget what it's called, but it looks like a DNA strand. And the more you play in the game, you can level up to 1 to 10 in the game. You get new powers, new features added depending on what character you play as. And basically, the more you level up, you can unlock stuff for it. But the main thing that you can unlock, it's like you have to complete these challenges, is lore about the character you were playing as. That is amazing. I always thought that I always wonder when more games don't do that. What a reward! If you spend all this time playing as this character and getting to know him and getting to know them well, of course it's awesome to unlock more lore about the character because you get to learn more about them and learn about their story, learn about who they really are, their background. I think it's a really cool feature. And mind you, there's roughly 5 challenges for each character, which unlocks 5 different parts of lore for each of them. And when you consider the fact that there is 25 characters more in this game, that has a lot, dude. That's a lot of story content. That's out of the main campaign itself. Now you don't have to play as all these characters, but I think it's cool that they give you these challenges that when you complete, unlock more story and lore, that you learn more about the game, the characters, and the story itself. I think that's a really cool idea. Overwatch, on the other hand, doesn't really have story. It has a lot of background story and lore, but you have to read on its wiki and all that into there. I like I had that problem with Destiny as well. Destiny had a lot of lore, but you had to go onto another website, Grimoire cards and all that. And basically, I prefer when it's in game, and I really like the fact that BattleBorn have the lore as an unlockable reward. basically what I'm saying is, when you compare both, BattleBorn does offer a lot more content. But Overwatch is still a great game, and as well as BattleBorn. I don't get... No, I will say that it is a odd timing that BattleBorn and Overwatch go at the same time, because they are... Like, they're actually very different games, but a lot of people confuse them up. And I can see why, but at the same time, BattleBorn's a more kind of slow-paced, MOBA-esque type of video game, while Overwatch is your more standard team deathmatch shooter, which is with a lot of different classes. And they both have their own personality and charm, and they're both like funny and colourful games. But like BattleBorn's art style reminds you of like a cartoon almost, while cartoon, comic booky maybe anime-ish, while Overwatch is clearly like your Pixar. That like, you can see it's like Pixar looking graphics. Both great games, but I just emphasize that Overwatch has like, it's probably one of the most popular multiplayer games I've seen in years. It has like 7 million, 9 million players. It's insane. And BattleBorn, maybe Gearbox should have waited until Overwatch came out, maybe release BattleBorn a year or two afterwards. No, not a month or two after Overwatch, because the fact is it's Blizzard who bring Overwatch, and although I think it's bullshit that the games can't just be judged on their own merit, and that but the fact is publishers and developers do carry a lot of weight with them, especially these days. And when you have a big time name like Blizzard, World of Warcraft, I mean, that alone carries a lot of weight and a lot of name, and they've created so many games in the past. And when they bring out this new IP, and it's like a competitive first-person shooter with class-based shooter, and then BattleBorn has a very similar pattern, Blizzard is going to overtake Gearbox. As much as I love Gearbox, Blizzard is a much bigger name overall in the gaming community. But I don't think BattleBorn should be... It does not deserve the amount of negative feedback and hatred that it's getting from people. I think it's just people really just overreacting. I mean, Overwatch is a fantastic game, but so is BattleBorn. They don't have to compete. I don't get where this idea of games having to compete with each other came from. I hate that when there's all these multiplayer games, one game gets everyone, and then these other like 5 great multiplayer games die. It's great for the multiplayer game getting a lot of people, but then you've all these suffering. I don't get why gamers can't be more like just... I understand everyone has money, but like for example, why can't more gamers just try to play different games instead of just sticking to the 1 or 2 same, especially multiplayer games like, oh, it's like their Call of Duties and all that. Now Overwatch is a breath of fresh air, but BattleBorn is a great game on its own, and it should not just be considered the failure, basically the game. Like, for example, an Overwatch copy. Because it is not a fucking Overwatch copy. They share similar traits, they are similar games in certain aspects, but at the end of the day, they are still very different games, and they both